The nice thing about the Ruger is it has been around for so long. You can replace every part of it. There's so many aftermarket parts that you can find aftermarket parts to replace. And actually that process was fun for me.
I'm Riveroo Bay, and welcome to my gun kingdom. Okay, Jeff, so what do you say we go over some of the questions that the viewers had on the very first video that you did? So,
okay. You know what? I want to properly identify the interested members. So, Jim Shoe 8862 said that we had talked about all the blended parts that we put in the gun, but we didn't explain the accuracy and he was correct. So we're going to do that today. We're going to explain the parts again and the accuracy that was achieved with each one or was not achieved with each one. This is the first thing that I changed when I got my Ruger 1022. This is the stock that came with it. It's a nice stock. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's composite, and I'm not thrilled about the feel of composite. So, and you can see that I had to add some spacers in here to get to my length of pull. And it actually still didn't get to my length of pull, but it made it much better. And I replaced that with the Woox stock, which you can see on the gun now. That's WOOX, fine company. They make beautiful wooden stocks of all different types for all different makes of weapons. This one is fully adjustable, which is what appealed to me. I can adjust the butt plate, I can adjust the cheek plate. It came with the rail so I could put a bipod on it. It's just it's a beautiful stock, and it really works well for me. Blue Knight 1960 indicated that he wouldn't spend thousands on a gun that was for plinking. And I totally agree with him. I wouldn't spend thousands on a gun for plinking either. But at the time and under the circumstances, this is the only choice I had to try to compete in a competitive environment. And you'll see later on when we go through the scores that there's a lot of good shooters in this club. I mean, when you have 20 guys that are entered in a match, and 15 of them that shot 250.
Wow.
You got some good shooters, so the competition's really stiff. The second thing I changed, and this is the original Ruger trigger housing. And if you look closely at this trigger, that's not the one that came with it. That is a trigger that's called the Victory trigger from Tandem Cross. Tandem Cross is a company that I used for a lot of my pistol changes that I made in the pistols that I own, and I like their product, so I got this trigger hoping that I could adjust it down to the level of lightness that I wanted it. It's a flat trigger, which I happen to prefer. It's just a personal choice. And unfortunately, when I took the trigger housing and the trigger to the gunsmith, he said it was not possible to adjust this trigger to below the 4.5 pounds that it came with, which led me to a different decision, which we'll get to in a little bit. The Act 2877, he had an interesting suggestion. He said he thought it would be better to have the kid bolt in with the kid barrel instead of the Volquartsen bolt, which is what I had in. And I read that and said, I'm going to really try that, because I think I had that combination when I shot one of my best scores. The reason I put the bolt back in was selfish. The Volquartsen bolt is really easy to install. The kid bolt is a pain in the neck to install. This is the original Ruger bolt and charging handle. You can see that the charging handle is affixed to the charger, and it's a pretty easy install. Nothing wrong with this bolt again. Ruger makes fine products. The problem was that I, in my early years, was looking at a lot of videos that said the bolt makes a difference and the headspace makes a difference, and you really should improve upon what Ruger put in as standard. So this was changed. My first effort at changing that bolt came with this bolt. Very attractive bolt, looks beautiful in the gun. It's a Volquartsen bolt for the 1022. It's the match grade bolt they make. This is the rod that goes with it. And of course there's a spring. The thing I liked about this bolt, especially when installing, it's very easy to install, and the bolt handle actually screws into the side of the bolt here, so that once you get the bolt installed, you just screw the handle in. It's a very easy setup. But I changed that bolt for a couple of reasons, and one of them was from one of the viewers that had a suggestion, and I think his suggestion was correct based on my shooting. Now I'm going to tell you the parts that I changed, and some of them are in the gun that I elected not to take out. I have in the bolt, I have the Kid match bolt, scalloped in color. Because I'm on the range and I have to have my flag in, you can't really see it. This bolt is very difficult to install because it comes in two parts. The handle comes in a part. It doesn't screw in like this one does. The handle fits underneath the bolt, and you almost need four hands to get it in. When I changed this bolt a couple days ago, it took me almost an hour to get that Kid bolt in. However, I love the Kid bolt. It's machined to a tolerance. The headspace is perfect for the 1022.
Jeff, why don't you go over the cost of the Ruger 1022, just what you get from the factory?
Well, I bought this 1022 used, and it was less than $500. And it was interesting because when they cleaned it, before they put it up for sale, they indicated they think this gun was never shot before I got it. So it came with a, I don't remember the specific measurements, but it came with a standard bull barrel. Its target, there were no sights on it. It was drilled for a scope and a mount. And from that point forward, it was, it had the stock trigger, the stock, everything that came right from Ruger. And it really wasn't bad coming in as stock, but it wasn't sufficient to compete with the competitors that I have in this club. We also have a Kid two-stage trigger. This is the original, and you can see here, this is now, it's a Kid two-stage trigger. It's a very light trigger. It's 3 ounces on the first stage and 3 ounces on the second stage. So it took me a little while to figure out how to feel that first stage giving in. Yeah, my friend here helped me do that, and eventually I got it worked out quite well.
So what did you see in the improvement over the stock equipment on the original 1022?
Where I noticed the biggest improvement in accuracy was in the barrel. This is the original barrel that came with the Ruger 1022. It's a heavy match barrel. Nothing wrong with the barrel. It's a decent barrel. But as I will explain a little bit later, I had some concerns about accuracy and consistency. So this is another part that I eventually changed. I did a lot of things like I changed the trigger. And actually, I put a tandem cross victory trigger in the regular Ruger mechanism and tried that. The trigger was fine. It was nice. It was a flat trigger that I like. But I took it to the gunsmith and wanted to tune it so I would have 1 pound of trigger pull. It was 4.5 as it came from tandem. And he had it for a couple days and called me and said, the trigger mechanism doesn't allow for changing the pull. So he couldn't change it. So when I started making other improvements, I tried the bolt, I tried the stock. Now the stock was a good help from the standpoint of comfort. You know, I'm not sure what it did as far as accuracy, but comfort for me, going from the standard Ruger stock to the Woox, which is WOOX, going to that stock was a huge, comfortable improvement. It felt good putting it up to my shoulder. The accuracy improvement, the biggest accuracy improvement, was with the Kid barrel. The barrel is also a Kid barrel. That's one of the last things I purchased. And this barrel is the difference between the barrel that came stock and the barrel that comes from Kid is that Kid uses a high quality steel to make the inside of their barrel, and everything is machined to a really fine point. So they guarantee half-inch groups out of the box, and I was I thought that was a joke, and when I actually had a gunsmith put the barrel on because I wasn't comfortable that I could get the ejection port right where it belonged in. So once the barrel was on and I brought it out to shoot it the first time I shot it, I had those half-inch groups. It just amazed me how well it shot, and there were a lot less flyers than I got with the standard Ruger barrel. When I had the Kid barrel put on and came out and shot it, the first time I shot it, my 3-shot groups were touching each other. Bottom right square. And there was a significant improvement in the barrel. My best shooting, my best score, was done when I had the Kid barrel in, the Kid bolt, and I also bought the Kid 2-stage trigger, which has 3 ounces of pull in the first stage and 3 ounces in the second stage. That just eliminated any trigger pull errors, and just touching that trigger and it sends the bullet. So those were the biggest improvements. I didn't see a big improvement in bolts, but we'll see what happens today when we re-sight it in. The other thing I should tell you about the Kid bolt, which is interesting, the Kid bolt comes with, see if I can get this off, it comes with 2 extra springs. And the spring that's in there is the one that you use for standard ammunition loads. Then there's one spring that is designed for very light ammunition loads, and there's one spring that's designed for a heavier load if you decide to shoot heavier or lighter loads. And that's a nice feature that most people like about the Kid bolt, that it varies so you don't have any jams and misfeeds.
So when you got the aftermarket parts for your Ruger 1022, did you change all at once, or did you change them one at a time to see if there was a big improvement with just one change at a time?
I changed them one at a time. As I told one of the viewers, I live on Social Security, so I didn't have a lot of money to invest, so I tried to do the cheapest thing I could. For example, I went through, I think, every ammunition manufacturer that exists, trying different ammos to see which was most accurate through this rifle. And that was the cheapest thing I could do. Then I tried the trigger. I tried putting the tandem cross trigger in.
Now this is with the original 1022.
Yes.
Right when it came out of the box.
Yes.
You tried all the ammo you could.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And and then, of course, once I changed the barrel, I started over, testing the ammo again. But and I found a bunch of ammo that seems like it fits. But I went with the least expensive because it seems to be just as accurate, and that's the SK semi-automatic 40 grain 22 bullet. It seems to work best in this rifle for me. The ammo is the SJ semi-auto 40 grain 22 caliber long rifle. It's the one that's worked the best for me in this rifle. They're about $7.50 a box of 50, which is way cheaper than some of the ammo I was shooting. So it's been good. So I'm going to try the top 3 practice rounds for the regulation target now. That's a 10X.
And that's something that the viewers are going to have to experiment with their particular firearm that they're using in competition, isn't it?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Because what works for Jeff isn't going to work for the rest of you.
Correct. Yep.
Unless you would have the same exact setup that Jeff would have.
Right.
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 Yeah. What about the? You brought some pictures along to show it.
Yeah, I did. This was the first scope that I tried. This was a Bushnell. It was 5-30, and the reason I tried this is crazy. I haven't bought a scope for 30 years, and the only scopes I remember that had a good reputation was Bushnell.
Okay.
So, in fact, I think back then Leopold was just coming out. So, because I remember my dad had got a.
What year was this that you bought your first scope?
Oh, well, 30 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been in the what, 80s, 90s. Yeah, early 90s. I think. So long. It was a long time. And then this is the first rest that I tried to steady my shooting. And nothing against the Caldwell rest. It was a nice rest, but I couldn't get comfortable with it. If you look here, where the barrel sits, mine would wobble. Mm-hmm. It didn't quite fit in that spot. And you can't have that.
No, no.
So I got rid of that and I went to the sandbag.
Okay. Or you're using a bipod now, right?
I'm using a bipod now and sandbags. Okay. And this was a stock I tried. This is a Boyd stock. Now Boyd makes very nice stocks. I have nothing against their stocks. But this was it's called the Boyd All-In, which is adjustable both in the cheek rest and in the shoulder rest. I purchased this, and when I got it, it fit beautifully on the gun, but I could never adjust the cheek rest. You'd push the button, and I could not get it. And I sent it back to them. They were good. They said they fixed it, and they sent it back to me. And I opened it up, and I still couldn't. It would not adjust. So I just sent it back, and they gave me a full refund. They were
nice.
They stand by their product. And then this is actually one of the stocks that I wanted. I really wanted to get this. This is a GRS. They're made in Norway. And the interesting thing about this is they have an offset hand grip, which is about an inch to the left of the normal grip, so that your finger is lined up perfectly with the trigger, and you have to pull straight back. There's no deviation by pulling sideways on the trigger. Just you have to pull straight back. I loved this concept. I loved this stock. I watched a lot of videos on people using it who just loved it. The problem is I'm a sucker for wood stocks, and this is a composite, and I just didn't like the composite.
You don't like the feel of it, right?
I didn't like the
I
feel
know,
of
I
the
know what you
composite.
feel. I know
Yeah.
how you feel about that. Yeah.
So that's why I
What
went.
what would that stock cost?
That's $756.
Okay.
Yeah. This one was $249.
Wow. Big difference.
Big difference.
Right?
These are these are different costs for each one of the items that I tried, and I compared the total cost with three of the popular guns and what it would cost if you did the same thing to those guns. So, for example, the stock, the Wook stock was expensive. That was $1,199. Oh, and by the way, I just finished telling everybody I couldn't afford to do things because I was on Social Security. Well, something changed. In January 1974, or I'm sorry, 2024, an old friend of mine that I hadn't talked to for 20 years called me and had a project and felt that I was perfect to do the project for him. He offered me a stupid amount of money to come out of retirement and do it for 3 months. And I said, sure. And 3 months turned into 7 months. And that gave me the money to put into this rifle. Otherwise, none of this would have happened. All this came from that job. It didn't come from my Social Security. The Vortex cantilever scope mounts were $349.99, and I tried the Volquartsen match grade gold bolt. That was $286. The Kid bead blasted match barrel, that was $302. The match grade bolt from Kid was $370. The Vortex scope, which replaced the Bushnell, that was expensive. That was $29.99. And the Accutac bipod was also expensive. That was $494. The total cost that I've got in this gun at this point, including the price of the gun, is about $5,700. Now, if I compare that to the Bergara B14R, the Anschutz, and the Voodoo, if I made those changes to the Bergara, the total cost would have been $4,600. To the Anschutz, the total cost would have been $7,500. And to the Voodoo, it would have been $7,100. So I'm still a couple $1,000s under two of the most popular competition weapons.
Okay.
And I'm pretty happy with the way it's shooting now.
So when you say that, what basically you're saying that the 1022 Ruger gets you a good base.
Yes. Yeah. The nice thing about the Ruger is it has been around for so long. You can replace every part of it. There's so many aftermarket parts that you can find aftermarket parts to replace. And actually that process was fun for me. It was fun experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't work, you know.
Sure.
And this is going to show you how good the competition is at this club. And it'll also demonstrate the different combinations that I in the last 3 matches of 2024. Those are the only scores that I could find that I kept. So on July 7th of 2024, I had this set up with the Vortex scope. Then in July, it had the Tandem Cross Victor trigger, the Volksquartz bolt, and the bipod. And my score out of 250 was 218. And out of 10 X's, it was 1X. And my standing with the competition is I was 21st out of 24.
Oh, wow.
Now, 218 is not a great score when you got guys shooting 250. And then on August 4th, I changed to the Kid 2-stage trigger, the Kid bolt, and that score went from 218 to 238 and from 1X to 5Xs. That put me 15th of 21. And on September 1st, the bench rest match, everything was the same as in August. I kept everything the same. I felt this was a maximum improvement. But one or two things happened, and I think it might have been a combination of both in this match. The guy next to me was new, and I think he shot my target. Because in this match, if there's more than two holes, if there's more than one hole in each one of those targets, it's a 0. And at the same time, I had put on the muzzle brake that I bought from Kidd. And I think that muzzle brake affected gas distribution when the bullet left the rifle, and it affected the accuracy. There, it was terrible. My score was 193. I did have 4 X's, but my standing was 30 out of 31. That's as close to being last as you can get.
Yeah, right. Right.
So now I guess we're just into the fun part of what we're doing here. Yeah, this is a Vortex, and it's 6 to 36 power. It's a Vortex Viper. Just beautiful clarity, nice thin crosshairs. Okay, I think the secret here is for me to slow down a lot. When I slowed down, I had 10 X's. When I sped it up, I have some that are off just a little.